Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for everybody being on here. Disappointing loss on Saturday to a very good Texas team that's really talented. Thought our guys competed. Proud of their effort. Really had a good plan in all three phases. We just collectively didn't get it done on Saturday. I think three areas that are key for us coming out of that game. I think we have to make calls and plays in critical situations. That's on myself, staff, players, everybody. We've got to improve our situational awareness. We didn't have great situational awareness in the game, and then we lost fundamentals at key points. And when you get into really pressure situations, I think you got to fall back into your training, and we didn't do that. Kind of went rogue and kind of lost footwork, little detail things in some of the pressure plays. Kind of recap of the game, special teams. Thought our punt coverage was really good, really good. That's the best we punted the ball. We had one that was kind of short, but the rest of them, that was the best we punted the ball. And our coverage units, which are going to have to be really good this week, our punt coverage unit, which is going to have to be really good again this week, I thought did a nice job limiting Texas. I think they had -2 punt return yardage. Kickoff, other than the kick that went out of bounds, our kickoff team bounced back and had a really good day. We had a huge punt return that led to a field goal. And then we made 2 field goals, and I thought our field goal block team continues to affect kicks. Texas has a really good kicker, and they missed a kick right before half, and I thought we really were able to get some pressure there and affected that. Defensively, the negatives, we allowed too many rushing yards, and I thought they really controlled the line of scrimmage on Saturday. We didn't have any takeaways, several explosive pass plays down the field. They didn't take advantage of a couple other ones they could have had. Positive 17 points, had a lot of pass breakups, and we found a way to get off the field. I think overall, defensively, it wasn't one of our better performances. We didn't get home as much as we usually do, or we would like to. We didn't create as many negative plays. I think Texas was probably a little off as well, which helped us. But I thought we played okay. We didn't play poorly by any means. 17 points, we'll take that, and you got to win with 17 points. But I think we can play better defensively. Offensively, the two obvious negatives are red zone. And really what the red zone came down to is 2 fourth down plays. And our lack of rushing on Saturday really hurt us. Letting not being 100% was a factor there. But really, I thought that Texas's interior guys, and that really wasn't the case. We really went in knowing that they were big in interior, but our inside guys had played well up until this point. And we really tried to keep Osai out of the game as much as we could. And we did limit him. I thought we protected him well, but their interior D-line really were dominant in the game. The positives, we controlled the clock. Really efficient in the pass game, especially in the second half. Had several explosive plays, didn't turn the ball over. But at the end of the day, offensively, just not enough points. And we've got to play better in critical situations. So disappointing. We made a lot of progress over the last year. Really weren't in that game against Texas a year ago, past about midpoint of the third quarter, right there with multiple opportunities to win the game. So we're making improvement, but we're not in it for close. And so we've got to be able to finish those games, and that's kind of where we're at right now. So disappointing that we couldn't come away in Austin with the win. So Big 12 conference every week's tough, and so we turn the page, and we've got a TCU team coming in that's playing their best football, and won their last 2 games. I thought they were really had a dominant performance over Texas Tech last Saturday. They look like a typical Gary Patterson football team to me, and they're physical, disciplined, and really playing well right now in all 3 phases. Kind of preview of special teams. They've got a great punter, Australian, older guy that's really punted well for them. They have one of the best punt return units in the country. That's something that they take a lot of pride in. They've been consistently one of the best punt return units in the country. They took one for a touchdown against us last year. Got 2 returners, Spielman and Davis, that are special, and that's going to be a huge play in the game. You know, the games that they played well in, they've always got big returns from their punt return unit, and they do a great job with kickoff return as well. And they do really good schemes, and they've got good returners. And so our coverage units again are going to be tested. I feel like I say that a lot, but this week they will be again. Offensively, they're a spread attack. Ability to mix tempos. They go fast when they want to. They've been very, very effective running the football. I mean, if you look at the stats over the last 2 games, they've really ran the ball well. And I think that's kind of, as they've gone through this winning streak here, that's been the key. Their quarterback, in my mind, is very similar to Ellinger. You know, he's a tough runner, had 180 yards last week, has ability to go the day when it had an 81-yard run, so he's fast. He's improved his accuracy. Tough kid, and he's playing well for them right now. Proved his accuracy as a passer. They've got a running back committee, some heavily recruited kids in that room. They get a bunch of guys carries, and then receiver they've got good speed. They've got the Barber kid that they get the ball to a lot of different ways, and he can make people miss. And he played well at the end of last year, and has continued to be their leading receiver. And they've got a couple other guys that can really go. You know, defensively, if you look at longevity, I think Gary's done it at an extremely high level for a long time. And I'm not sure anybody in the last 20 years has played defense better than TCU. If you look at it, the whole package. And so that's a credit to him. It's always a challenge going against him. They're playing their best ball of the year. They have 2 safeties that are great players. Number 7 will be a high draft pick. The linebacker who feels like he's been there a long time, but Wallow, he is all over the field and plays the game the right way. Physical, does a good job of reading and reacting. Their 2 defensive ends are young, but are legitimate pass rushers, and they got great first steps, great ball get off. And they give you nothing easy. That's the thing about when you play against TCU, you know what the deal is going to be. There's going to be no easy plays, no easy runs, no easy completions. And so this is a huge game for us. We're excited about getting back here at Mountaineer Field and getting back in front of our home fans. Hope we had a good crowd. The weather's going to be outstanding on Saturday, so it should be a good day. With that, I'll take questions.
First up is Greg Hunter.
So, Neal, your lack of run production Saturday, you guys have been pretty good at that all year, but Saturday obviously was a struggle. Was it Letty's injury or the Texas just overpower you guys up front, or a combination of both?
Combination of both, Greg. It was. We had more one-on-one losses. And let's start this. Letty wasn't 100%. Got hurt on the first play of the game on a play where he was actually on the perimeter blocking, and he wasn't the same. We're hoping we're going to take care of him this week. We're hopeful that he'll play. We won't know till later in the week. I know somebody will ask that. We won't know till later in the week. But he was not at full speed. And then the 2 other issues in the run game were, number one, they played really well. And they were dominant at times interior wise. I thought they used their hands. And we lost a lot of one-on-one blocks there. Second issue is where issues on our own. We had some miscommunication, some mis-IDs of fronts that on 3 third downs where we just weren't on the same page. Had decent we should have had numbers in the box, and we just didn't get on the right people. So combination of those 3, Letty not being 100%, us losing one-on-ones, especially into 93. He looked like a big time player in that game, and then us not doing a good enough job communicating and IDing.
Next is Cody Nesper.
Hey, Neal, I wanted to ask about your 4th down philosophy of when, you decide to go for it. Are there guidelines you have for certain areas of the field, or is it all sort of on a case-by-case basis?
No, I think the overall philosophy is we're going to try to be aggressive, and we felt like we had good plays. And those are plays we practiced for those situations. Some of them we've practiced for multiple weeks. And I think that you're going to have to score touchdowns in the red zone in this league. I think that's the way the game would have played out on Saturday also. if we were able to convert that. And so that's really the overriding philosophy there. Normally, if you want to talk about, we really would like to run the ball in that situation. And on at least one of those, we had the first play, we had a pass play that we really felt good about, and would have called that even if we were probably running the ball effectively. It was about a 4th and a yard and a half, and we had exactly what we wanted on that. On the second one, it was a yard or less. Ritter ran it. We ran a kind of an RPO where the quarterback had an option. He threw it, which I don't blame him. If we had been maybe running the ball more effectively, we'd have taken that option off.
Charles Montgomery.
Hey, Coach. So you alluded to Max Duggan and how he is a dual threat. He's a threat running the football. So what do you do to prepare for a quarterback like that? That he likes to run the ball a lot.
Yeah, he does. They've asked him to carry more of that as the year's gone on too. And so, what you do is you've got to prepare for quarterback run game, whether it's designed runs where they're calling it, whether it's within the pass game where he pulls the ball down and scramble. You got to put yourself in those situations in practice. It makes it more difficult though. You have to put at least one more hat in the box, or get, whether it's your nickel or your safety, you got to get another guy down in the box to help account for him.
Michael Sussman, you're next.
The individual receiving stats are pretty widely distributed at this point in the season between a number of guys. Ford, Wheaton, James, Wright, and Simmons are all at about 40 to 60 yards per game, give or take a few. Is this something that you like to see, or are you still waiting for that higher volume target to emerge in that receiving corps?
I think the answer is both. We love for somebody just to be dominant week in and week out. But I like having a lot of guys involved. I think it's good camaraderie. It's good chemistry. I think it's harder to prepare for. And those receivers are getting better. And we're playing a bunch of those guys. We're playing seven or eight consistently each week. And there's been different guys be productive. And so I like rolling in a bunch of guys. You keep them fresh. Defense can't really lock in on any particular target.
Kevin Kinder.
Following up on the quarterback run game, Neal, he did a really good job against Sam Ehlinger. Texas Tech's quarterback, Columbia, hurt you maybe a little bit more than you expected. Is that a factor of one team running the quarterback a little bit differently, of being more aware of what Ehlinger can do? And if that's the case, I'm guessing that's a focus again for this week.
Yeah, so with Columbia, I can't remember if it was 49 or 69 yards of his rushing came on pass plays where he pulled the ball down and scrambled. And we just didn't do a good enough job in that game. If you remember, Tony went out early. We were a little off with our linebacker play. Some of that was we were dropping too deep and our eyes weren't in the right spots. And so Columbia really hurt us in scrambles on pass plays. Ehlinger had a couple runs. To me, you're looking at run efficiency, and Ehlinger had some really efficient runs on third downs. And so maybe he didn't have the big long runs, or his rushing totals weren't real high, but he was still efficient and effective. But it's hard. It is. There's a reason why people have running quarterbacks. There's a reason why that guys with running quarterbacks usually are rushing totals are a little higher, because it's harder. It really is. It's harder to defend.
We'll go to Mike Kazaza.
Neal, how are you?
Good, Mike. How are you?
I have two for you in the red zone. I'll ask one. I'll come back in the second one if that's all right. But can you clarify a little bit the mechanics with you and Jared? Because Jared's kind of danced around a little bit. I shouldn't say that. It's not as clear as it could have been. Maybe I didn't follow up, but I just heard different variations on television for who takes over when and how that's distributed. Yeah, we really work together. He definitely calls some of the plays. I call some of them. We bounce back and forth. I got the final say. Any of the bad ones, you can blame me. But no, for the most part, I call them, and then
he definitely has some say in some situational football. We'll talk about it during while the defense is out there sometimes. I'll say, hey, it's kind of what I'm thinking, have this ready, or, hey, have a drive starter ready, or, hey, I want to go tempo, you just take it. So it's really it's kind of back and forth. And really everybody in the offensive staff room has say in what we're doing. But he definitely does. He calls some of the plays. Sometimes it's situational, sometimes it's not. It's really not – and I'm not avoiding the question. It's really not where at a certain point he takes over or a certain – it's not really that. It's kind of, hey, we get in this game, I want you to kind of think this is what I want you to really focus on. So when we get, hey, this situation, you call it. Or if you got to play, hey, do you have something you like? Okay, hey, call it. That's the way it goes. It's really not a super, scientific deal.
All right, so, the ball goes from the 22 to the 19. He doesn't take over the play calling then. I get you.
No.
And then in the red zone, terrific up until Saturday, and it looks like you tried darn near everything with calls and formations and ideas, and I don't know, I was satisfied with what you put out there and just unlucky at sometimes.
It's it's such a small margin for error. I mean, it really is. I mean, here's the thing. Sometimes you call bad plays and they work. Sometimes you call good plays and they don't work. Jared called the play that we had Winston scotch free, and it's hard to get somebody that wide open. And so it was really good play design. It was a good time he wanted to call it. It was a good time to call it. And we had a good play. We just didn't make it, right? If you look at that the first time we went for it on fourth down the red zone, we had Mike wide open. It's hard to get somebody that way. You know what I mean? And then there was other times, where guys make a play. We missed a block right at the point of contact on our touchdown, and Letty runs through the guy. So it really is. It's just a small margin for error. We were close. The sack we took after the touchdown got overturned, Winston's touchdown got overturned. We did. Our guard put his eyes down. I mean, it was split second, and so things happen so fast and such a small margin for error. I think as a coach, you always got to kind of go back and really critically analyze with the plays you're putting your guys in position to execute. We definitely do that. I thought we had some good ones, and if I had to do it over again, there's a couple that I would do differently, and that's probably the case every game, honestly.
Okay, we'll go to Chris Anderson.
Speaking of margin of error, 4-3 right now. Maybe 2 plays away from 6-1. I know, kind of look at it that way. Maybe media do too.
Yeah.
First, do coaches look at it that way? Do they discuss it among themselves? Do you speak about that with your team? And 2, when I say something like that, what does that make you think of where your team sits right now?
Well, no, I don't get into hypotheticals. I don't really – and that's just really kind of how my mind works. Somebody asked me last week about recruiting, about somebody, and I'm like, man, as soon as that recruiting decision's made, I just kind of move on. I don't mean that bad for the prospective student-athlete, or I just kind of move on. And you got to have a kind of a short memory. Obviously I remember almost all the details of every one of the games we played this year, but I don't look back. I'll spend some time after the season, critically, okay, hey, what do we do well? What we didn't do well? What do we have to, how can we get our guys better prepared? Or is there a certain opponent that's giving us issues that we've got to do some different things against, and we can, kind of work them in spring practice and those type of things. Here's what I do know, okay? There is significant improvement in our football team from a year ago. And the reason I know that is because with 4 minutes to go in every single game we've played this year, we've had an opportunity to win, which was definitely not the case a year ago. Now, we found a way to win, 3 of those games that were, you take out the Eastern game. All right, so we've beaten 3 conference opponents that were, 2. I guess one of them was a double overtime game. Kansas State was closer than what the score looked like, and then we were able to pull away from Kansas there in the second half. So we won 3 of them, and then we've had 3 of them that, 2 of them are nationally ranked teams that, we just didn't make the plays necessary. One of them, a sack fumble, really was really kind of the difference in the game, ran the scoop score. And we didn't play great against Texas Tech, and so I know we're better. We've got to finish the year off in a strong note. I know we're better. We're not where we want to be because we're not finishing all those games. And so I know it's a long answer, Chris. I don't get into hypotheticals. I do know we're better. But it is frustrating that we hadn't finished those games yet. All of them.
Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, Neal, analyze your young offensive linemen for me. Maybe start with Zach Frazier and then the guys we have seen only a little or not at all.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of go from left to right because it's easy for me to kind of go through that. I think Brandon Yates played his best game. Really did a nice job. We gave him help with Osai, but I thought he showed really steady improvement. I'm pleased with how he's played, really, probably for the last month. Zach, he had a tough time on Saturday. Didn't play poorly, but that was probably the most struggle he's had. 93 is really long. I mean, he's a huge man. None of you all went to the game, so I don't think you have appreciation for how big a guy he is. And Texas got some big dudes across the board, but he's the biggest. And so that was the most struggles he's had in the game. James Gmitter, who I count as young, he's sophomore. He played more in the game and is getting better. He's back in the flow of things. Bryson Mays, who's a sophomore, played every snap. He's got to get stronger, but he didn't hurt us in the game, and I thought he showed steady improvement from the Kansas State game where he played all but about a series and a half. If you keep going, I think, Parker Moore is getting better. He's getting closer to being ready to play. I think he's got a for sure future here. Jaquay Hubbard came in. It really and he's battled some things, at home where he hadn't been here as much. He's had some illnesses that he's had to really kind of leave and take care of, in full support of myself. But I think he's got a chance. He just needs an off season. Really needs an off season. He missed that last year. Was big for him. I think Jordan White is a guy that definitely can play. He's strength-wise, he's getting there. He had a really good night last night. And so those are some guys that are showing some improvement and getting closer to being ready to play.
Final question is John Antonic. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, just curious, when they redid this schedule, you knew this point was going to be, those 5 in a row in 5 straight weeks. How do you think your guys are holding up through this, and where are you at right now with that?
Yeah, we're probably showing some signs. Yeah, we're showing some signs. It's a long stretch, especially when you don't have the full – you didn't have the full summer and all that kind of stuff to get ready for it. We got the longest stretch. We talked about it. We got the longest stretch of anybody in our league, and so we're gonna get through it. We're having to manage. We managed some practice time last week. The election deal actually probably helped us in that fashion. We'll manage some practice time today and tomorrow, but it won't be an excuse. I mean, we it's not going to be a factor in the game. But we got some guys because we're you can look at our roster. We're really young, and so we got some guys that are going through this kind of grind for the first time, and it's wearing on them a little bit, and we're going to have to adjust some things to take care of them.